Blizzard accidentally created their worst enemy. Let's take a look at this, guys.
Welcome to Actiblizzard Castle, former home of King Bobby Kotick, now brought to ruin.
Yeah.
When insatiable greed caused Actiblizzard Castle to fall, the pieces that once made it great had to go somewhere. Many who were lost found a new home over there,
Marvel
taking
Games.
the pieces of a once great kingdom and turning it into an empire the likes of which we've never seen. This is the untold story of Activision Blizzard, and how they accidentally created one of their greatest enemies.
Okay.
The year is 2008,
Ooh, good. Okay.
when Blizzard Entertainment was the golden boy of gaming. They were known for putting their players first and taking a really long time to ensure their games were good.
Yep.
Really good.
I mean, what Blizzard did, though, is that they took an idea and they just make it better, and they Blizzified it, right? And that Diablo's like that, StarCraft, World of Warcraft, that's what they did.
Surprisingly,
and they did it good.
This rockstar reputation earned them a cult following, and every budding game developer during this time wanted to be like Blizzard. But on the horizon, stormy weather was blowing in, announcing the arrival of evil, House Activision, led by one man, Bobby Kotick. On a rampage, Activision's business model was based on consuming the souls of their enemies. And by this, I mean they would buy out small, struggling game studios and absorb them into the Activision brand. They were budding development teams with big ideas, and Activision would promise them funding to realize their dreams.
What else can I help you with?
Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Call of Duty.
my God.
Activision was even making games for a little comic book company called Marvel. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
For now, Activision was a powerhouse in the gaming industry with an insatiable appetite, and Bobby Kotick was on the hunt for bigger fish. Which brings us to July 8th, 2008, a day that will live in infamy. Bobby wanted to buy Blizzard Games. He saw their perfect track record, their adoring fans, and, of course, their World of Warcraft subscription service, which was earning tens of millions of dollars a month.
Dude, it's still crazy. Blizzard hoards 1.2 billion 2007. Early Blizzard was a freaking powerhouse, man.
Bobby wanted a piece. So he approached Blizzard's owner, Vivendi Games, asking for a price tag. Unwilling to simply sell one of their biggest cash cows, Vivendi instead negotiated a merger between the two companies. Vivendi would keep a majority stake in Blizzard, and Bobby would add a powerful piece to his arsenal.
Damn good deal.
Yes, it was, and one that sent shockwaves throughout the gaming industry.
You what?
Two titans coming together, about to show the world what they were truly capable of. Thus, Actiblizzard Castle was created. Their first move, under their new name, was a big one, brokered by Bobby Kotick himself. World of Warcraft was a huge game not just in North America, but around the world, with one of the biggest regions for the game being China. Unfortunately, China is notoriously strict about distributing rights to foreign companies. Activision hadn't had much luck getting around this roadblock, but Blizzard did. World of Warcraft was published and hosted on servers courtesy of Chinese company The Nine.
And they also had they had so much work around the Chinese client. It's pretty insane, actually.
Activision and Blizzard merged, Bobby was essentially gifted.
They had no undead characters. Yeah, they had to remove all skeletons, all undeads. Like, a lot of shit was actually very different than the Chinese client. It's quite interesting. There's a lot of videos covering that, like Abominations. If you go to the Undercity, Abominations don't have like that big gaping hole in their stomach. They patched up the stomachs. All the skeletons are like basically humans. It's a little bit. It's interesting, actually. It's not a big deal. It's just a few model swaps. No, I just find it cool. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, to me at least. Yeah, like some of the like there's a lot of like meat and like bones and stuff on some of the tables, and they just replaced that with bread. It's kind of funny.
This inroad into China on a silver platter. Unfortunately, the Nine wouldn't be in the picture for very long. The Wrath of the Lich King expansion for WoW had some, well, unsavory content that
that's the thing. That's exactly. I swear I haven't pre-watched this. This is exactly what I was talking about. So they replaced the models, like these skulls. They had just been done like a big replacement of like, oh, let's just make all these skulls into like money. So some of the models just look so funky, like a big piece of bread in like the desolation thing.
The Chinese censors didn't really like, and they put a 2-year embargo on the game's release.
You can say lame.
The Nine and Activision Blizzard broke up over the whole situation, but not to worry, because they quickly found a new distributor, the Shanghai-based company NetEase. This partnership would flourish over the next few years, WoW would remain one of the biggest games in China, and NetEase would help Blizzard develop their games. While things were amicable now, eventually, way down the line, the partnership would take a most unexpected turn. For now, business was booming. The free money machines were printing money. The shareholders were happy with their shares. What more could you possibly want? Oh, right, the well-being of the players. That wasn't on Bobby Kotick's checklist. Ever since the merger, Blizzard had been adding in some mechanics to their games that felt shady, borderline exploitative. First was...
I like how he used the word mechanics. Dude, listen, ever since the merge happened, man, it became about money. Instead of making a really good MMO, not just WoW, like really good games, it became, okay, how can we monetize these games really well? How can we milk the whales, right?
World of Warcraft mounts becoming more expensive, and more egregiously, providing in-game conveniences. Next was the Diablo 3 auction house, which made it very hard to not spend real money to beat high-level endgame content. These newfangled microtransactions were sketching people out, and it felt like Activision's money-first, fun-later business model was worming its way into Blizzard's game development. As Blizzard North co-founder Max Schaefer put it, they think with their wallets first. The year is now 2014. Greed was starting to affect the company in very real ways. After a string of poor releases, Marvel opted not to renew their contract with Activision. At the same time, Blizzard employees were seeing the shift in company culture and looking for opportunities elsewhere. At the confluence of these two rivers was a man named Jay Ong, who left the company in 2014 to work for Marvel Games. At the time, Marvel was, as we mentioned, known for making some pretty mediocre games. After all of their work was outsourced and was primarily developed to release alongside their feature films.
Dude, I love the early days of like video games where they were like, it just became popular to make games out of movies. There's a lot of like early, really scuffed ass like Marvel and like just random Disney and movie games. It's so funny.
Jay Ong had a vision. Although Marvel was still small and struggling, he made the choice to pledge his allegiance to a new kingdom, telling his former boss the Marvel IP needs a better home, to which he received a smug response, "Good luck finding your unicorn." This challenge would prove fateful for Blizzard. From here on, Jay Ong began building, brick by brick, a Marvel Games that was about to enter an era of success which it had never seen before. Learning from experience, Jay Ong was driven by one core principle: obsession with quality. Jay Ong implemented new strategies, including only working with the very best partners who also cared about quality, removing restrictions which hindered them from making the best games, and giving them creative freedom. In his own words, quote, "They don't have to meet some artificial date. We give them time. We initiate projects far earlier than we used to. Great products require time to make. They have room to breathe creatively." In short, people were allowed to try new things, and failure was seen as learning. In the years to come, Marvel Games faced some growing pains, including flops of their own, but it was part of the process. Jay Ong was fostering an environment where creatives could do their best work, and whispers started to spread of a game-making paradise. Meanwhile, Blizzard was struggling. After the rocky launch of Diablo 3, Blizzard had two real flops in a row. The first was the cancellation of their secretive MMO, Titan, which was postured to be the successor of World of Warcraft. Titan's development started in 2007, and over the years, countless Blizzard employees were sent to work on the project. But as the game languished in development hell, blame fell on the execs for not making any meaningful decisions to get the game off the ground. And after 6 years of time and resources spent, Titan was internally cancelled in 2013. The project would ultimately cost Blizzard $80 million, and many veterans who were stuck working on the project were completely demoralized.
It's all good, man. Just release another WoW mount, you can make that money back. Easy clap, dude. Maybe like a new unicorn. That'd be good.
Following this, in 2015, Blizzard released their answer to League of Legends, but it wasn't the game they wanted to make. They wanted to use the name Dota, which was based on the Warcraft 3 mod that grew like wildfire over the past decade. But Valve already hired the creator of the mod to make a game like that for them, and trademarked Dota 2 a few years earlier. Failing legal action to block the trademark, Blizzard was forced to use a different name, thus creating Heroes of the Storm. But the MOBA market was already too saturated, and
I'm kind of sad actually I never got to play Heroes of the Storm back in the day, because it does seem like a really fun-ass game.
The Storm simply could not compete. With the cancellation of Titan followed by the failure of Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard needed something, anything, to get their wheels back on track. Creativity and morale were at an all-time low, but with what little they had left in the tank, they decided to give it their all. And it's a good thing they did, because they struck gold.
So Overwatch? Yeah, that's Overwatch, right? Yeah! And it,
Our compassion.
Remember that? Remember when the first Overwatch cinematic was released? When Mercy came down and everyone was like, wow.
kinda cool, actually.
This is it. This is gonna save gaming. Us too.
Like
It
Team
was
Fortress
glorious.
on crack.
Overwatch was fun, dynamic, unique. It was critically acclaimed and won multiple Game of the Year awards. It was a reminder to all of us what Blizzard was capable of, and that they still had that magic in them to create legitimately good games.
True.
Then,
Yep.
when we thought it couldn't get any better, they announced the Overwatch League.
Oh, yeah.
The first internationally franchised esports league in history. It was going to be the NFL of gaming competition.
Yep.
Teams tied to cities, fans wearing jerseys, players flown all over the
pretty
world
sick,
to
actually.
compete against each other. There was this belief, this energy, that the OWL was going to break the stigma on competitive video games as being weird and bring it into the mainstream. Bobby
hyped.
even convinced his friends to invest. Guys like Patriots owner Robert Kraft, Arsenal and Denver Nuggets owner Stan Kroenke, NetEase invested in the Shanghai Dragons.
It's a big bet.
Even Elon Musk was at investor meetings. In short, the OWL had legitimacy from real sports, the backing of multiple billionaires and multinational corporations, and the OWL instantly became the poster boy for the upcoming esports boom. For many, it looked like Blizzard just reclaimed their throne and were ready to take back what they'd lost.
Yep.
But there was one part of the equation that we didn't factor in. Bobby's smudgy little fingerprints all over the game. Despite releasing an amazing game to diehard fans, the game was full of microtransactions, drip-fed content, loot boxes so predatory, they were banned under certain countries' gambling laws. Plus, the insane $20 million price tag to buy an OWL franchise spot was unheard of. And
What? That is actually fucking cooked.
was something only Bobby's billionaire friends would be able to afford. So much
You
of
didn't
the
know?
game
I didn't know that part. No, that part I didn't know. I didn't know about loot, of course, but like,
felt like it was focused
Jesus.
on money, money, money. And as the months dragged on, it seemed like the devs were more concerned with releasing cosmetics than fixing problems with the actual game. Soon, it became apparent that the golden age of Blizzard was a bygone era. And although Overwatch thrived for many years, many believed the game never realized its full potential.
Yeah,
and
probably true.
sadly, there wouldn't be another chance at redemption, because Blizzard was about to get hit with a series of lawsuits from which they would never recover. In 2017, Blizzard employees, old and new, started voicing their concerns, some in open letters, some to the media, and some in lawsuits describing the work environment as being misogynistic, unsafe, and similar to that of a frat house.
I remember
Front
this.
and center were allegations against Bobby Kotick himself, claiming that he was aware of misconduct in the company and helped to cover it up, which really shouldn't come as a surprise. There's a paper trail of terrible behavior perpetrated by Kotick, stretching as far back as he's
being a WoW streamer in this time period was horrible. You would get people like every day coming into the chat and fucking like shit. It was crazy. It was insane. Why? Because they kind of they were looking at it like you were supporting like a lot of bad shit and like a lot of like bad stuff because you were streaming a game, right? And stuff like that. It was pretty bad back then. I remember. I didn't get it that bad because I wasn't really that big of a streamer. I was just kind of like, you know, but like a lot of the big streamers were getting pretty heavily harassed as well.
around. In 2006, he allegedly threatened to have an employee killed. In 2022, Kotick tried to buy Kotaku and PC Gamer in an effort to, quote,
You got it
change
too?
the public narrative.
But like, compared to other people, it was not as bad for me. But yeah, I got it too.
Anyway, the allegations started piling up, and it eventually reached a breaking point in 2018, when Mike Morhaime stepped down as the CEO of Blizzard after 27 years of service. This was closely followed by several other long-standing
A lot of the
Blizzard
big
employees
people stepped
doing
down.
the same. This included Overwatch head writer Michael Chu, Blizzard co-founder Frank Pierce, and someone who will be very important later on in the story. His name was Ray Gresco, a seasoned veteran at Blizzard who served as chief design officer and the head producer for Overwatch.
Actually,
he was
interesting.
recognized for his
I'm enjoying
pivotal
this
role
video.
in lifting the Titan team from a slump, inspiring them to transform into a powerhouse group that ultimately brought Overwatch to life. His departure meant one of Blizzard's great leaders was now no longer with the company. With two of Blizzard's founders out of the picture, the future of the company hung in the balance.
Yep.
Meanwhile, none of the legal troubles stuck to Bobby Kotick personally. And despite board members being aware of his inappropriate behavior
right now,
and voicing their concerns, Bobby had a clause in his contract that made it very, very expensive to get rid of him. So they just let him stay on as CEO. The gates of Blizzard were wide open, and no one was around to stop him. His first decree as king was layoffs.
Oh yeah.
Major layoffs.
The Blizzard
Nearly
layoffs.
800 Activision Blizzard employees were
Holy
terminated,
shit.
and almost overnight, board meetings were dominated by sales and marketing execs rather
Yeah, and Bobby got a fat paycheck because Bobby needed a new boat. Let's lay off 800 employees, but give Bobby a raise. Oh
creatives.
god.
It was so bad that a few years later, Jeff Kaplan, the lead director of Overwatch, left the company after butting heads with Suits over his vision for Overwatch 2.
Yeah.
He wanted more time to develop the game's PvE and wanted to ensure that he was creating something new and innovative for the sequel of one of the biggest games of the
Overwatch
decade,
PvE.
but he was told that it wouldn't be financially viable to delay development. So he ended up leaving the project altogether. As the clouds over the kingdom darkened, those fleeing the chaos sought refuge in unlikely places.
Yeah.
Some went to other companies, some started their own, and although hope was fading for these wandering souls, a new era was beginning to coalesce. In 2018, Hamilton Chu, the executive producer for Hearthstone, was saddened by the fact that he was spending more time talking to shareholders than working on his game. Stuck in a funk, he received a phone call out of the blue from an old friend. It was Mr. Jay Ong, the ex-Blizzard exec we mentioned earlier, who is now the head of Marvel Games. In this phone call, he basically said to Chu, "If you leave Blizzard, you can find a home at Marvel." Chu quickly relayed this message to Hearthstone game director Ben Brode. They began daydreaming about starting something new, something which would allow them to get back into the heart of game development. That's not to say
Yeah, it was I don't know. I feel like it was kind of suck building up a game and working passionately, and then suddenly it just becomes about, I don't know, yeah, business meetings and money and money and money instead of like working on making good games. I feel like
they didn't
money,
love their
money,
jobs.
right?
When describing Brode, former Blizzard engineer Brian Schwab said, quote, "He would have stayed on Hearthstone until the sun death of the universe. That's
suck.
how much he bled Blizzard." But these creatives were forced to conduct marketing strategy meetings and create shareholder value instead of building awesome games. And when that happens, well, people won't stick around for long. Brode and Chu departed Blizzard in 2018 to start their own gaming studio, and it was a big deal. The hype surrounding Second Dinner was a turning point for many reasons. The first is that Jae-Yong wasn't kidding about making games for Marvel, and in a few short years, the team at Second Dinner would release Marvel Snap, now one of the biggest Hearth games in the world and a direct competitor to Hearthstone.
Never really followed
Second
this.
is how they got funding to start up. Right out of the gate, Second Dinner received $30 million in investment from NetEase.
Damn!
Yeah, that NetEase. This was problematic for Blizzard. Not only was NetEase their Chinese publisher, but they also developed games for Blizzard like Diablo Immortal. To invest millions of dollars into ex-Blizzard employees for them to create a game that was in direct competition with one of their biggest IPs was a blatant attack to their partnership and would irreparably damage their relationship. And it wasn't the first time that something like this had happened. Also in 2018, NetEase invested $100 million into Bungie, the creators of Destiny 2, a game that was, at the time, on Activision's catalog of games. In 2019, NetEase signed a contract with Marvel to create a series of films, comic books, and of course, video games, creating Marvel Super War and Marvel Duel over the next couple of years. Plus, it didn't go unnoticed that this Marvel contract was kind of similar to the one Activision lost back in 2014. But why would they do this? In the years leading to their fallout, the Chinese government was cracking down on video games, banning children from playing on weekdays, as well as imposing new regulations for publishers to follow. NetEase was cited as, quote, feeling the pressure, but Activision was passive at best when it came to meeting these guidelines.
Not my problem.
Requests for information on revenue? No. Tell us about your business operations?
No.
Help us out even a little bit? No. To Activision, this was some sort of ploy from NetEase to get more money out of them. To NetEase, it was disruptive and threatened the whole partnership, and all of it was made significantly worse by the conduct of Bobby. Many at NetEase allege that he was incredibly difficult to work with, not just as a business partner, but personally as well. Simon Zhu, president of partnerships at NetEase, following a particularly bad meeting, said, quote,
his eyes are creepy.
"Developers and gamers will have a whole new level of understanding of how much damage a jerk can make." Tensions came to a head in 2022 after a mistranslation during a meeting where Activision felt like they were being threatened. Soon after, the partnership ended, meaning at the start of 2023, Blizzard games like World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, and Overwatch 2 were no longer available in China. Understandably, people didn't handle it well.
Now I understand!
And then the divorce got messy, and even messier. However, no longer burdened by this toxic relationship, NetEase was able to focus on developing a new game, one that would fill the hole left by the abysmal release of Overwatch 2 in 2023. You guessed it, Marvel Rivals.
Yep. What the fuck? What the hell?
This was the hero shooter fans were waiting for. After the success of Marvel Snap, news that a free-to-play hero shooter using the Marvel IP was under development had...
I will give them this, chat. This game is actually fucking fun. Okay, I've been playing lately off-stream with Mordial and Tooth a bit. It's actually really fun. They did a good-ass job with it. Rivals sucks, don't at me. I think it's really fun. I actually kind of like it. I think it's really good. And I'm not to be bragging, chat, but I'm silver 3.
Basically, the entire gaming industry frothing at the mouth.
My ass is I got goosebumps right now, dude.
The art style was right out of a comic book. The characters looked amazing.
It's cool.
The gameplay was oddly similar to Overwatch, but with more characters, more complexity, and way more players.
It's very similar to Overwatch, though. It is. It's all different, though. I think what's really cool, though, is you can play all the Marvel heroes, though.
First month, Marvel Rivals grows
more complexity. I don't know if there's more complexity or not. I haven't played that much Overwatch, but as a person that's just going into the game to give it a try, I think it's fun. I like it. There's a lot of different characters. There's a lot of different playstyles. It's a good game, and the games are really fast too. You know. How do you main in Marvels? I play Star-Lord, man.
And $130 million. Not bad for a free-to-play game.
The China special, steal your product and clone it. That's not the China special. That's just the special in general. What a lot of gaming companies do is that they take an idea, like they take a game, and then they change a little bit of the fundamentals, and then they make it their own kind of vibe, and then they release it. That's pretty much what WoW was. That's what StarCraft was. That's what all the pretty much almost every popular game these days is like a copy from something else. You could say Overwatch is also a copy from Team Fortress 2. Right? They took Team Fortress 2 and then they changed a little bit of stuff. They added some more heroes, and then they worked with that, right? So like, yeah, Marvel Rivals is an Overwatch copy, but Overwatch is a Team Fortress 2 copy, you know?
It surpassed 10 million unique players, peaking at nearly 500,000.
Yeah, Repo and Lethal Company, Vampire Survivors, there's the Soulstone Survivors and all the Survivor games now. Like, there's a ton of things like this where people just take a game and they twist it a little bit and then they make it different. And that's how games evolve. I don't think that's a bad thing, as long as you still innovate stuff.
Concurrent players on Steam at launch, and has kept that momentum months
That's how everything
later,
is created.
still averaging hundreds of thousands of unique players to this day.
It's crazy.
But that leaves a question.
It's fun,
NetEase and Marvel Games joining forces was big, but who are the actual people who made it all possible? The first name that comes to mind is Ray Gresco, the head producer of Overwatch 1 we mentioned earlier, who left Blizzard in 2019. After his departure, he started a video game consulting firm called Blue Silver Studios. One of their clients is listed as Disney, as in the owner of Marvel Games. And in 2024, Gresco was appointed as the Senior VP, Head of Product and Development for Disney Games. Given the uncanny resemblance of Overwatch and Marvel Rivals, it's hard to believe that Gresco didn't bring some of that creative Overwatch juice to his consulting with Disney. But the person that really was the mastermind behind it all was Jae Ong. He had come a long way since leaving Blizzard in 2014, and is now one of the big players at Disney Game. Throughout the years, his drive to foster an awesome work culture won the trust of ex-Blizzard veterans and NetEase. And who knew a focus on creating great games, instead of just profits, would end up making you profitable.
Yep.
So
imagine that.
What should we make of all this?
Oh god. Group of Activision Blizzard shareholders joined a call for Bobby Kotick's resignation. Hundreds of Activision employees signed the petition demanding CEO Bobby Kotick's
Blizzard
resignation.
just took a lot of hits. By October 2023, Activision Blizzard was acquired by Microsoft for $75 billion. Their ruined castle was just repoed and moved to the Microsoft campus in Redmond, Washington. And Bobby Kotick? Well, he was somehow able to convince Microsoft to buy it all. And he was so beloved by the new company that they paid him $400 million just to step down.
Bro, that is fucking cooked. $400 million. Did he? I mean, I don't know. That it's so insane. Like like what the fuck? That is so much money.
So, Bobby came out of this with what he loves most. Money. But with nothing left to prey on, he spends his days...
I don't even know if he likes games, honestly. I feel like he just saw a big business opportunity and tried to milk it as much as he could. It wasn't even about making good games. It was just about making as much money as fucking possible and then dipping out.
Sharing conspiracy theories on how unions were the reason for his downfall.
I can tell you exactly what happened. So the Communication Workers of America, because they started looking at technology, they kept calling the Department of Affairs because they I didn't realize the government agency, the EEOC, into a company because we pay well, against we have great benefits.
Disney, Marvel, and NetEase have built an amazing partnership. And all in all, Marvel Rivals looks like it's here to stay. They have the player base, they have the investments, and they have an amazing team that cares about the community and regularly releasing content. With Bobby out of the picture, NetEase and Blizzard rekindled their partnership. And in 2014, games like World of Warcraft returned to China. As 2025 unfolds, it's uncertain what awaits the gaming industry. Everywhere we look, the corruptive power of greed continues to infiltrate great kingdoms. But as long as there are heroes that stand for quality first, there will always be hope for great games to come.
True. And dude, honestly, there is a ton of fucking great games out there. It can be very easy to focus on the negatives and like, oh my god, old games were better, but there's a lot of good games being released nowadays. There really is. There it is. Name 10 in the last... Okay, of course there's 10 good games in the last year, bro. Like 10 years. Like, shut up. Oh yeah, you like books? Name a book. Like, of course, man, there's a lot of great games, like BG3, Elden Ring, I don't fucking know, the Wukong game, there's a lot of great things. I will also say, to be fair though, I have played a lot of World of Warcraft, so I haven't really delved too much into variety gaming, but that's something we're doing more nowadays, right? Yeah, Kingdom Come is good too. You can say that to 2 years. Yeah, it is what it is. Regardless though, interesting video. This popped up. I wanted to look at it. I've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals lately. So I just wanted to see this. This was really, really fun to watch actually.